Welcome to Love and Trauma, the real deal. I'm Danielle Sebastian, best-selling author, coach, and yes, I've been through the marriage trenches myself. This show is all about how to actually deal with trauma in relationships and make it work without losing your mind. If you're ready for honest talk, no fluff, and tools that cut through the noise, tune in because let's face it, love can be a bit of a mess, but it's a mess worth figuring out. This is Love and Trauma, the real deal. Welcome. Can I ask you something real? Have you ever looked at your partner and thought, I love you, but I'm so tired? Tired of carrying the emotional load, tired of tiptoeing around the landmines, tired of trying to say everything just right so you don't trigger another shutdown or another blow up or another night of silence. You know you still care. You know you want this marriage, but something in you is whispering, why does it feel like I'm the only one fighting for connection? And if I'm honest, the holidays can make this hit even harder because you used to love this season. You wanted to do all the things, bake the cookies, decorate the house, go to every family gathering, soak up every moment with your kids. But when your husband carries childhood trauma, this time of year can stir up overwhelm, pressure, and old survival responses he can't always name. And suddenly, you're the one leaving early or getting there late or canceling plans you were looking forward to. You find yourself doing the decorating alone, baking cookies by yourself, trying to hold the magic together with both hands while still walking on eggshells. And that's where resentment slips in, quietly, slowly, layer by layer, until you feel like you're the only one pouring into a season that you used to love. But here's the part that no one tells you. Resentment isn't proof that you're ungrateful or unloving. It's a signal of unmet needs, unspoken fears, and a nervous system that's been in survival mode for far too long. So today, I want to walk you through what resentment really is, why it shows up so fiercely in trauma-impacted relationships, especially during the holidays, and how you can start breaking that pattern, not by trying harder, not by sacrificing more, but by communicating in a way that brings both of you back into safety and connection. Because you deserve peace, you deserve partnership, and you deserve to feel like you're not carrying this alone. All right, let's get into it. Let's start by naming something most people never say out loud. Resentment doesn't show up because you're too sensitive. It doesn't show up because you're demanding or needy. And it definitely doesn't show up because you don't love your partner. Resentment builds when your heart keeps reaching for connection and keeps landing in the same painful spot. It's not anger, it's accumulated hurt without repair. And in trauma impacted relationships, repair is often the very thing that gets missed. Not because either of you are bad people, but because your nervous systems are speaking two completely different languages. When someone carries childhood trauma, they have spent a life surviving by shutting down, pulling away, numbing out, or exploding under pressure. These patterns didn't start with you. They were trained into their body long before you ever met. But here's the painful truth. Even if their reaction isn't about you, it still impacts you. You end up living in the aftershocks. You're trying to plan a holiday dinner while watching for subtle changes in tone. You're decorating the house while bracing for his anxiety about the family dynamics. You're trying to keep the kiddos excited while wondering, is today going to be a good day or a landmine day? And over time, your system adapts too. You overfunction, you compensate, you become the steady one, the prepared one, the peacekeeper. And then one day you look around and you realize you're exhausted. You're lonely. And the holidays don't feel magical anymore. They feel like another thing you have to manage. And that heaviness you feel, that sigh that lives permanently in your chest, that tiny spark of, I'm doing this all by myself, that's resentment trying to get your attention. It's not to shame you and it's not to blame your partner, but to show you there's a pattern here, one that's hurting both of you. And it's time to gently, compassionately interrupt it. And that is exactly what we're going to do today. Now, let's talk about what's actually happening underneath these reactions and why your needs and your partner's needs often collide in the most heartbreaking ways. Here's where things get really important. Most couples think resentment comes from the surface issues. Who's doing the chores? Who's planning the holidays? Who's showing up emotionally? Who's not? But the real problem isn't the tasks, it's the nervous systems underneath them. When your partner carries childhood trauma, their body is wired to protect them at the first sign of emotional danger. Not danger from you, but danger from feelings they were never safe to have growing up. So, what does this look like? Withdrawal, irritability, snapping, shutting down. It isn't rejection, it's protection. Their system goes into freeze or flight long before they can articulate what's happening inside. And you, being the one who loves them, end up catching the shrapnel. But here's where it gets even more complicated. When you feel them pulling away, your nervous system starts to panic too, just in a different direction. Most partners of trauma survivors have a connection seeking survival response. You feel that disconnect, and your body starts thinking, we need to fix this now. We can't be divided. This isn't safe. So you ask questions, try to talk through it, reach for closeness, try to understand, or try to prevent the shutdown from ever happening again. And it's not because you're controlling, it's not because you're nagging, because you're trying to bring the relationship back into safety. And suddenly, his nervous system is trying to protect him by pulling away. Your nervous system is trying to protect you by pulling closer. You're both trying to feel safe, but you're just using opposite strategies. And that's this cycle, not because you're incompatible, not because the marriage is broken, but because you're both reacting from old wiring neither of you chose. In the holiday season, this becomes even more intense, and you guys know it. The expectations, the family dynamics, the memories, the pressure to make everything nice. His system gets overwhelmed, your system gets vigilant, and the resentment builds on both sides. He feels pressured, you feel abandoned. He retreats for safety, you reach for connection. Both of you hurt, and neither of you feel understood. But once you can see that it's survival modes colliding, not personal attacks, it changes everything. It opens the door to compassion, clarity, and communication that doesn't trigger the old wounds. And that is exactly what we're going to talk through next. The communication shifts that help you interrupt this cycle and build safety instead of resentment. Now that we both understand how your survival modes collide, especially during stressful seasons, let's talk about how this plays out during the holidays. Because when your partner carries childhood trauma, the holidays can turn into an emotional minefield. And it's not because they don't care. And it's really not because they want to ruin the plans. It's because their nervous system is in overdrive. And here's what I mean. Pressure feels like danger. Even fun things, family gatherings, plans, expectations can feel really overwhelming. And trauma wired brains read pressure as a threat, not a celebration. Shutdown gets misread as rejection, When overwhelm hits, the brain protects itself by disconnecting. And to you, it can feel like, why am I the only one showing up? Emotions run high. The smallest comment, tone, or request can feel massive when someone is dysregulated. And you take on the load. You become the holiday planner, the emotional buffer, the peacekeeper, the one holding all the joy while holding your breath. It's not that the holidays are too much, it's that trauma never learned how to feel safe in them. So, what's really going on underneath? I used to believe his reactions were personal towards me, my plans, my family, the holiday itself. I thought his distance meant he didn't value what I valued. But the truth is simpler and honestly, so much more freeing. It's not about love, it's about safety. Holidays bring unpredictability, stimulation, pressure, expectations, all the things that a trauma wired brain struggles with. So instead of thinking, why can't he just show up? I started asking, what is his nervous system trying to survive right now? And that one shift changed everything for us. And I'm going to get to tools that finally helped us heal the holidays right after this commercial break.
Banging your head against the wall trying to navigate the complexities of a relationship impacted by childhood trauma? It doesn't have to be this daunting. When you're married to a partner with unresolved childhood trauma, it can feel like you're walking on eggshells, never quite knowing what will set them off. No matter what you try, it feels like there's always something triggering another emotional response that seems completely out of context. And the harder you try to fix it, the more discouraged you feel. So what's the issue here? Navigating marriage with a trauma survivor is different. The love languages don't work. Date nights don't work. Self-help books don't help. But here's the good news. I've created something that does work. Something built from years of hard-earned lessons and real-life experience. Ready to take the first step toward real change? Let's talk. I'm offering a free one-on-one call where we'll dive into what's going on in your relationship and figure out a way forward together. This isn't just another quick chat. It's a chance to finally be heard, to share what you're going through with someone who truly gets it. No judgment, just real support. So if you're ready to start making sense of it all and find a little more peace in your marriage, book your free call now. Your happiness, your peace, and your relationship are worth it. Let's do it together.
Okay, so we are going to get to the good news in all of this. The tools that finally helped me and my husband and the people that I work with heal the holidays. There are trauma informed tools that make this season calmer, more connected, and actually enjoyable. On the surface, they may seem simple, but underneath, they're incredibly powerful. These are not productivity tips. They're nervous system strategies. And once you understand why they work, everything starts to make sense. Okay, my number one tool is to drive separately. Okay, I know this one seems almost too simple, but it changed everything for us. And here's why. When your partner's nervous system is overwhelmed, the car becomes a pressure cooker. If they feel trapped, it meaning that they can't leave when they need to, their anxiety skyrockets. And when anxiety rises, disconnection rises right along with us. So, driving separately gives both of you freedom for you to stay longer if you want to, and freedom for him to stay longer if he's doing well, or leave earlier if his system needs a break. and freedom for you to stay and enjoy yourself without worrying. Is he okay? Should we go? Is he shutting down? So freedom creates safety, and safety creates connection. When we started doing this, the pressure dissolved. He felt respected, I felt relaxed, and suddenly the holiday gatherings didn't feel like a test. It felt like a choice. Number 2 is talk a week before the event. Trauma hates surprises. It thrives on predictability, preparation, and knowing what to expect. And that's why a simple 10-minute conversation a few days before a holiday event can make all the difference. It's not to pressure him, not to negotiate him into going, but to lower the unknowns. I think that often we get stuck wanting because we're worried about the conversation. So we wait until the day before or even the day of to try and plan. And that is not what I would recommend. I would try something gentle like, hey, here's what the day is going to look like. Here's who's going to be there. Here's the timing. What part feels good to you? What part feels overwhelming? And offer some choices. Because here's the part a lot of us miss because no one teaches this. When things are overwhelming, it takes time to process. A dysregulated nervous system doesn't make very clear decisions on the spot usually. It needs space. So that first conversation may not give you the final answer. You might not land on a plan right away, but that's not him avoiding you. That's his system trying to make sense of the emotional load. To let it breathe and say something like, let's take some time to think about it and we'll come back tomorrow. This is especially true for trauma survivors. Decisions feel like pressure. Pressure triggers overwhelm, and overwhelm triggers shutdown. So give him a night or even a couple of nights to process. That removes the pressure completely. It allows his brain to think and come back online. And when his nervous system settles, he can make a choice that's real, grounded, and honest, not a choice that's made based on fear or overload. Once we realized this, everything changed for us. We stopped forcing big decisions in one conversation. We let the plan unfold slowly. And the holidays instantly felt lighter, calmer, and more doable for both of us. Okay, number 3 is offer real choices. And here's the key, you need to mean them. This tool is huge. Most trauma survivors spent childhood having no choices at all. So as adults, choice equals safety. But here's the key. The choices have to be real, not, do you want to go or disappoint me? No pressure, no guilt, no emotional consequences hidden between the lines. Try, do you want to go? Do you want to stay home? Do you want to come for just an hour? Would you like to meet us there? And then this is the hardest part, you honor the choice. When I finally meant it, truly meant it, things softened immediately. He showed up more because he didn't feel forced to. His yes became real and not pressured. And guess what? My resentment went down because I wasn't trying to drag someone into an experience they weren't regulated enough to enjoy. Number 4, this is a big one. Name it kindly for your family. This is where so many wives get tangled up in shame. You feel like you're covering for him or excusing him or making excuses or explaining him, but you're not. You're protecting your marriage. You're creating a buffer so he can enter the situation with less pressure. And you can show up without feeling pulled between your partner and your family and expectations. It can be as simple as, hey, he gets overwhelmed with long gatherings. He may just come a little bit later, or he might step out for a break. It's okay. That's just what helps him. You're not oversharing, you're setting the tone. And the calmer the environment is for him, the calmer it is for you, and more connection you can actually get to have as a couple. And number 5 is prioritize quality over quantity. This one requires a mindset shift. We're taught to believe that showing up means staying the whole time, participating in everything, making every single moment magical. But in trauma-informed relationships, quantity is never the goal. Regulated connection is. A peaceful, connected 2 hours is better than a stressed, conflict-filled 8 hours. Give yourselves permission to come late, leave early, step outside for breaks, take things slower. Choose connection over performance. Because the truth is, your family doesn't want your burnout. They want your presence. And your partner can give presence when they feel safe. When we shifted to quality first, holidays stopped becoming something we survived and started becoming something we could enjoy in our own way at our own pace. All right. When you start seeing your partner's overwhelm through a trauma-informed lens, something shifts inside both of you because suddenly it's not personal anymore. You're not interpreting his silence as rejection. You're not interpreting his distance as disinterest. You're not seeing his shutdown as a lack of love, but as a nervous system doing the only thing it knows how to do to feel safe. And that shift from he doesn't care to his body is trying to survive something changes the entire emotional tone of your relationship. I remember the first holiday where I finally understood this. He stepped outside for a break during a family gathering, and it was one where we were usually playing card games. And the old me would have spiraled. Why is he leaving? Why can't he just handle this? Everyone else's husband is fine. But new me paused. I took a breath and I asked myself, what is his nervous system trying to survive right now? And just like that, something softened in me, in him, in us. He came back in more grounded. I wasn't on edge. We didn't snap at each other. The whole evening flowed differently because I wasn't fighting his reaction. I was understanding it. And when he felt that understanding, he was able to stop hiding. He stopped masking. He became more honest about what he needed. He started showing up in ways that actually worked for him, not the ways he thought he should. We interpreted the spiral. We interrupted the spiral. Sorry, pressure, shutdown, conflict, resentment. And for the first time in a long time, the holidays felt hopeful again. Not perfect, not some Hallmark movie fantasy, but peaceful, connected, and real. When you understand trauma and dysregulation, you stop walking into the same emotional traps. You stop taking everything personally and you start communicating from grounded clarity instead of hurt and fear. And this doesn't just make the holidays easier, it makes your marriage safer. And when a relationship feels safe, resentment has nowhere to hide. All right, so let's bring this home. I want to leave you with 3 simple, powerful things you can start doing today to break the cycle of resentment. Not just during the holidays, but in your marriage as a whole. These aren't big, huge, dramatic changes. They're small shifts with a massive ripple effect. And here's the hopeful part. When you practice these consistently, everything changes, not just for him, but for you. Number 1, pause when you feel the pattern starting. Not avoid, not shut down, not push for a solution. Just pause. Because nothing, absolutely nothing, gets resolved when one or both of you are triggered. And here's the gift hidden inside this pause. You stop letting someone else's emotions decide the tone of the holiday. You stop bracing. You stop absorbing and you stop twisting yourself into knots to keep the peace. That one intentional breath gives you your power back. Try something like, I want to talk about this, but I can feel both of us getting activated. Can we pause and come back to it? This tiny moment of awareness prevents hours even days of hurt, and allows you to enjoy the moments you've been trying so hard to make special. Number 2, I want you to start naming the dynamic, not the person. This one is transformative. Instead of you're shutting down again or you're making the holidays miserable, try I think we're slipping into that overwhelm and pursuer pattern again, or it feels like pressure is coming up for both of us. This is where the magic happens because when you gently name the dynamic, you learn to separate yourself from the emotions in the room. You stop taking it personally. You stop assuming his reactions are about you, and you begin to see what feels like rejection is often old, deep pain rising to the surface. Shame closes people down. Clarity opens them up, and clarity frees you from carrying emotions that were never yours to hold. And number 3, repair in the smallest, simplest way possible. It doesn't have to be huge conversations, not emotional marathons, not rehashing everything, just small, consistent repairs. A look, a touch, a gentle, hey, I care about this, or I didn't mean to pull away. One of my clients said it best. Before using your tools, I would have thought those tiny repairs felt cold or dismissive, but they were exactly what my husband needed to believe trauma didn't have to define him. Because here's the hopeful truth. When your husband feels understood, heard, and safe, he shows up more. He attends more. He stays longer. He participates. He stops bracing. He stops hiding. Safety opens the door to connection. Connection opens the door to presence. You don't have to fix your entire marriage in one holiday season. You don't have to carry every emotional burden alone. And you're not responsible for your partner's trauma, only your side of the pattern. But you can create moments of safety. You can interrupt resentment. You can build a relationship where peace, teamwork, and connection don't feel like a miracle. They feel like a rhythm. Just one small shift, one pause, one gentle repair. That's how the cycle breaks. And that's how your holidays begin to feel hopeful again. If this resonated with you, or if you're thinking of a family member or friend who needs this, please share this with them and have an amazing holiday wrap up. And we will see you next week. Thanks so much for joining.
All right, that's a wrap for today on Love and Trauma, the real deal. Big thanks to my guests for sharing their insights. Couldn't have done it without you. Now, for those of you looking to take this journey further, I've got something special. Head to my website to grab Real Tactics, Real Healing, a survivor's playbook for navigating a relationship with a trauma survivor. It's packed with everything you need to know, do, and say to navigate the emotional minefield, find your balance, and regain your self-worth and happiness.